Snake Mountain. Finally, Snake Mountain. So I'm a little late. A couple of reasons. One, I noticed that there was already quite a few of these reviews that went up, people looking at their Snake Mountain and whatnot. So I know that this has been out for a little while, depending on how you got it or what service you got it from. I bought mine on the pre-order for Big Bad Toy Store. And for whatever reason, I didn't get mine until Friday. Now, I know there's also some deals that are in the works where I'm noticing that people have already gotten things like they're already reviewing Lady Slither, where Lady Slither isn't even available for order yet. I know that has to do with Mattel deals and things like that. Just a guy. I'm not a big influencer guy or anything like that, so I have to order with the rest of us, right? And it just so happens that whom I order from and how fast that mail service or whatever I ordered got to me, that's how fast I get my stuff. So that is my Snake Mountain. I haven't looked at it yet. The only thing I've done is to cut the bottom of it so that I could lift this up and reveal Snake Mountain. That's it. That's the only thing I've done, so I'm seeing this in the absolute real time, right here with you at the same time. I haven't watched anybody's reviews. I've only seen their videos come up in the feed and whatnot. I've avoided pictures and things of that nature. I don't know what the good points or the bad points are. This is 100% me staying away from as much material as I possibly could so that I could have a first, honest, real impression. I spent my money on it. I loved the Castle Grayskull. Now to see if the bad guy equivalent is better or worse than Castle Grayskull, and to compare in general. That's what this is. So here it goes, right here. I'm going to lift this up, and I'm going to see Snake Mountain for the first time. Oh my God. There it is. Oh man. Once again, the artwork of Masters of the Universe. It's just everything, man. We got a lot to go over with this one. So let's start with the box. All right, so we're going held camera for this one because I really want to go over as much of it as I possibly can. Of course, Snake Mountain, Evil Stronghold of Skeletor. Let's get the entire box first. So there we go. There's an overview of the entire box. And then let's look around it, shall we? I'm going to start over here. There's Screech, which is really cool. That's awesome. It's got his battle armor and everything like that. And by the way, I like these birds being giant birds. I like the fact that they are like man-sized creatures. We got Buzz Off here coming down to fight Manny Faces as a robot guy as a monster guy, by the way, which means now he's chained up, so he must be a good guy at this point because we got the chain up area right here. There's that weird bat head thing that I'm not 100% sure what that's about. In terms of any kind of storyline or anything like that. I love this monster face, which again, I don't know what that's about. I know Snake Mountain, that's a big, giant, actual snake. In the show, it's not, but in the action set, in the toys version, in what I've argued time and time again, these toys are not what we saw in Funimation. They're a different idea altogether, and that snake it's a living thing, whether it be by magic, if it's a stone statue that's alive, or something of that nature. This is not the Snake Mountain that we saw in Filmation. It is a different concept altogether. I wish we had like a comic universe show or something like that, because some of these aspects are so cool, so Conan the Barbarian and everything. We got Whiplash here. He's about to throw this spear and everything. We got all these people fighting on the path that leads up. That's Too Bad fighting Man-at-Arms, if I'm not mistaken. Some Skeleton Warriors, which, man, I love those Skeleton Warriors. That's so cool. Definitely got to get a pack of Skeleton Warriors. We got Evelyn sitting here fighting Tila. No, actually, that's not Tila, is it? No, that's not Tila. That is the Eternian Goddess. I think she's a green color. That's the Eternian Goddess. Now, I'm bad with colors. This is a purplish background, which makes it a kind of a red. And Tila, or rather the Eternian Goddess, is green, and I'm red-green deficient. But I'm almost positive she's green. So we are seeing a yellow-skinned, which means she's currently using her necromancy powers, which is probably where these Skeleton Warriors came from. We got Spydor, or is Webstor, or whatever coming down. I always call him Spydor, but I know that's wrong. That's Webstor, Webstor, whatever. He's coming down. He's got his grapple line up here, which is cool. It's actually a real detail, too. That is a grapple hook line, and it goes down. Look at these creatures that are like part of the mountain. It's almost like this used to be one horrible abomination of creatures that all got solidified at some point into this mass of grossness. But this is a cool detail that I wasn't expecting, is that that's the Eternian Goddess. It's not Tila. So that kind of, I wonder what point in the story or something we're at here. We got Stinkor, which is kind of cool. Mossman was fighting Stinkor and got interrupted by snake men, it looks like. It looks like a bunch of snake men are running up into the fight. Is that King Hiss right there? I think that's King Hiss right there. And then that's Tongue Lasher. And we got all these snake men that come up. That's Kamo Khan right there. I'm not sure who this is. Yeah, okay. So, like, all these snake men, this is like a three-way battle that's taking place here. This is amazing artwork. We got Skeletor up here, and he's got that, he's got the dragon armor, so he's got like an actual, like, dragon that's chained up to him that he's forcing to fight for him. And we got that Thunder Punch He-Man that's coming down here using all the power of Eternia to punch faces. And, like, again, look at all this detail here on like this and that, this weird creature. And we got that moon in the background, and there seems to be something coming out of the moon. It's like a smoke is coming out of the moon and then causing storms and coming down around. I don't know what all that is, but that's really freaking cool. And that's just on this one side of the box. Like, the artwork for this is unbelievable. It's just so good. Masters of the Universe artwork is fantastic. So over here, it's looking like we got, I can't remember what that's called. It's not the Wing Raider. Talon Fighter. It's a Talon Fighter, because that comes with the Point Dread, which I haven't yet been able to get, so my Grayskull doesn't have a Point Dread. And then we got all these guys, like Snake Men, that are coming back from the dead. Maybe they're spirit forms or something like that. Maybe they're coming out of that moon thing in a spirit form. I don't know. And then we'll turn this part of the box here. See this part? That's cool. And the fact that it's here makes you wonder if Origins is going to get one of these or something like that. Because a lot of stuff that they do on these artworks, they're kind of showing us possibilities of the future. Let's turn this thing around and see the other side. This is the toy display version of everything that we just talked about. So that's the entire overview of the back right here. And then we'll get in here. Of course, that's cool. So they're trying to create close to the same kind of picture. And so we got Screech coming in here. We got some Snake Men right here, which is pretty cool. So this guy's name is Rattler, that dude that had the big long neck thing. Okay. We got Triclops, we got Frogmonger. I've got Frogmonger, so that's pretty cool. He's chained up again, Manny Faces. We got that head thing. I don't know, that weird bat rat head thing. Down here, is that Mossman? That's Mossman right there. That's pretty cool. So we got Mossman, and he's over here with Slamurai. Skeletal Warriors, which, man, I love those Skeleton Warriors. Up here, the same kind of thing. We got Thunder Punch He-Man going up against Skeletor. Down here, we got some more Skeleton Warriors, but we got Stridor coming in with Fisto, and we got Mechanic coming in with the Ground Ripper. Not a character I plan to buy, but hey, whatever. We got Point Dread and the Talon Fighter. Awesome. Okay, so there's only two more things to figure out here in terms of the box. We want to look at the top. Looks like I need to turn this like this to really get in here on this. And this is what we're seeing. On the top here, we got a thing of Snake Mountain. It says strong folds and opens, easy play. That's cool. Because it's a clamshell and whatnot. It's got a striking snake. It's got a coil bridge. Says it scale the mountain. We got a trap door once you get inside. An acid pit to check out. Secret tunnel down at the bottom. We got the area where you can hook your guy up and he can be, you see Stronghold Dungeon. So the outside. And then we got a bone throne on the inside as well. So let's see about turning this like that. What's the bottom of the box? The bottom of the box is just the Masters of the Universe logo. And over here is the entire layout. That's the Snake Mountain in general. So now we got to unbox Snake Mountain. All right, I cut the box right here, trying to be as careful as I can be, because this is definitely another one of the boxes that I plan to keep. So unfold that, move this here, and that looks like the entire thing right there. So let's flip it up, and let's pull it out the best we can. Looks like it's just gonna come right out here. It's already in the long... Oh my, about to lose a bunch of pieces. So we want to actually lay this thing down like that. In fact, I already lost a piece. So you got to be careful. There's this very little block here. So definitely something that you have to look for when you're opening it. I got a small room. There we go. There's all of it. Man, this is packed in that clamshell tight. So I got to put a bunch of stuff together now. There's nothing else in the box. So I need to do some assembling, and as each part, as I put it together or whatever, we'll talk about it. Okay, so the first thing that I pulled out here is this cage, and this is the little prison thing. I don't know if there's a bottom to it yet, but it looks like it's as easy to put together as finding these little clips. You clip that in there, you clip that part in there, and that seems to be done. There it is. There's that. I don't know if there's a bottom that this clips into or a top that this clips into yet, but that's it. That part was super simple. Absolutely, really nothing really to think about, so we're going to put it to the side right now. Looks like here is the top of Snake Mountain, which once again, this has just a little clip for the door. Clip that on there. There we go. That part will open and close, and we'll be putting that on the top of Snake Mountain as we get things situated once I get everything ready and get the clamshell out and everything. Here's the directions. We may need the directions, but in all honesty, I don't know for sure if I'll need them. There's always the chance that it wouldn't hurt to have them, to be fair. I mean, I don't know everything, to be fair, and I don't know anybody that does know everything. So, yeah. Let's dig around in here for a while, shall we? Oh man, okay, so here's the weird bat, crazy rat bat head, and that's awesome right there. So we got the bat head thing. That's kind of cool. It's really eerie actually now that I'm sitting here staring at it, and that's pretty cool. This looks like the trap door area, so I'm guessing this goes at the top. We got, this looks like a flooring area. It's got wood panel area and rock area. Like I said, I don't know where anything goes yet. I'm just kind of taking the pieces out and we're checking them out in real time. This looks like a bad guy weapons rack. So, pretty cool. Hey, bad guys, they got plenty of weapons too, to be fair. Oh, this is like a gross moss slime colored fence thing. So I know that that's going to go on the front. There's nothing there. This does actually feel like it's something. It's not like, for a second I thought this was one of those bags of stuff, so like, you know, to keep moisture out or whatnot, but it's not. This looks like it's the creatures. So here's this ugly little dude right here. He's pretty cool. And then we'll, of course, we'll get closer and check all this stuff out too. So we just got a skeleton shield here, got a weapon, got another weapon, and we'll add those all over here to where we're going to end up putting the weapons rack. There's a spider in here, which is kind of creepy, and he's made from a nice rubbery material. So we got this ugly spider dude that, of course, we'll talk about, because I'll bring the camera in and get real close up on all this stuff too. Right now I'm just kind of going through it. There's this dragon thing right here, which is pretty cool, which he's going to be part of the acid pit thing at the bottom. There was nothing else in here. Looks like that is all part of the clamshell right there, so we're not going to touch that. The bone throne. I kind of wish this would have been painted a little better, but we'll get into the details once we get into it. But either way, that is awesome. To have a bone throne at all is sick. Finally, you know, I never expected that I would have a bone throne at all, in all honesty. I just didn't, because, I mean, like, they're expensive. If you want to try to get one of the bone thrones, I mean, first off, trying to get that Snake Mountain, if you didn't get on it when you had the chance to get on it, and I was not collecting this kind of stuff back then, hey, this is my Snake Mountain. This is my first and my best. Personally, I had the chance to buy Snake Mountain a couple of times, and I passed on it because I knew this was going to happen. I just knew it. There was no doubt in my mind that Snake Mountain was going to happen. So I just put off and put off and put off and waited, knowing that it would be coming down the line. I knew it. There was no doubt in my mind. This might be the top and bottom to the prison. It is. This is the top and bottom to the prison. So there's two pieces that we're going to need to put this together. Oh my, there's the snake. Let me get him. Check him out. That is big. I hope that gives you an indication of just how big this really is, because look at that. Like, I'm holding it, okay? I mean, and I guess, look, I can fit my whole chin in here. That is amazing to me, that this is that kind of largeness in general. Like, I wish these eyes had been painted red. Little things that you could do if you really wanted to. You could, I guess, fix them, depending on what your argument is. Some people, though, they like the vintage look of the toys, and vintage toys were not overly like, oh, his neck moves. His neck moves a little bit, and then that part moves a little bit. So he's got some movement in there that we can actually play with. But some people like the fact that these are not painted perfectly because they're meant to replicate vintage toys, and vintage toys were not overly detailed. It just was not a thing yet at the time. And so we got more gates for that slime bridge when we end up building the slime bridge. And then, oh, there's the bridge itself. So that part is ready, or it will be ready for the front when we go around to that part. And then the clamshell itself. Oh, wait, no, we're still not done. A bad guy ladder. I mean, the good guy's got a ladder, right? Got to have a bad guy ladder. And so then that leaves the last part of all this, as far as I can tell, the clamshell. Oh, never mind. There's a little rock here. Found a little rock. Put that there. I think it's the same little rock. Okay, so we're going to have to go over this, and we'll talk about it as we go over it, but this is it. This is the clamshell. This is a little area. I'll look at that here in a second. And this looks to be promising. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to build the inside and talk about it, and then we're going to build the outside and talk about it, because both parts of this, I think I have conversations for both parts of this that I want to make. And then it will be my task to figure out how to store it in here. But we won't worry about that until we have to worry about it. For right now, let's build and talk about Snake Mountain. Start on the inside. Okay, so the first thing we do, or first thing I decided to do, was build this little prison. And I noticed pretty quick that there's a B and an A here. Okay, let me fix the camera. See that? So there's an A and a B, and then down here I discovered there's also an A and a B here. So I assumed that you line those up, and then of course I found in the directions that very much is what we do. So I put together the prison. That was the first thing that I decided to do. Now I like this wolf head, bat head thing. It's almost like an evil rat thing or something like that. I think it's really, really cool, and it is eerie, and it also gives me the impression that something else evil lived here way before Skeletor, and he took it. Whether he killed what was originally here and took it or whatever, but being that it's called Snake Mountain, and I believe it has some sort of heritage built in to the idea of the Snake Men, especially if you're going on the 2000X continuity, well, then in that context, the Snake Men lived here. But that's also not a snake. So even after the Snake Men, I think something else evil lived here, and then he even took it from them, which operates the idea that there's another evil faction that we don't even know about necessarily. And I think that's really cool too. At least that's where my imagination is taking me. Okay, so going over the inside, all of this is pretty well done. This rock formation on the inside, and I think it's because like look at that, where there's like this eerie face on the inside, and that works because the outside, that to save as much money as they could on the plastic, they didn't like mold the inside and the outside, they just leave the impression. But the inside impression looks fantastic just because of the nature of what it is, and it works really well for the overall playset. And this color, this deep, dark purple that really catches the lights in different ways, it's just fantastic. It absolutely works. I don't know exactly what's going on here. I think it's the outside that's the little face thing talking. There's like I think this is a machine of sorts, because that's like a thing in a lot of Masters stuff, is there's always like computers and everything, even though, because it's it's like techno-barbarian fantasy. It's really cool. This is cool. All this, and the sticker was already here, by the way. I don't put the stickers on. This sticker was already here. You could argue that maybe you don't like that because you want to take the sticker off, and maybe you have 1,000 times more of the talent than I do, and you're going to come in here and like paint that yourself. And hey, if that's you, that's awesome. I'm actually really happy for you, but that's definitely not a me thing. And then we have the acid pit down here, and if your body is good enough to actually make it through the acid pit, you could come in this way or go out this way. There's like these gross like vines with this gross like goopy blood color, which is really cool. And so now I'm going to start putting stuff on it. Let's do it. So the first thing I did was put this floor plate in. It clicked in very easily. It was just like right there and there, and I pushed it in. And of course that adds for our trap door, which is just that. You just push this little button and the trap door falls, and if a guy is standing there, he's doomed, right? He's either falling right down into the acid, or if we wanted, there's these lips right here. And when we built this cage, part of the reason that we lined up the A and B zone was to get that lip system so that we could actually just slide this into place. And so then you could slide that back there, and then of course you could slide it out of there, and you could put it over here as well. And I'm not sure where I'm going to put mine when everything's said and done, but we'll figure it out. I think I'm going to put this part on next because I want that crown on here. So like I said, the next thing I did was put the crown on, and the crown is tall, and it's also hollow. There's nothing necessarily here. Even the back of this gate is just a hollow thing. I'm not sure that I like that. That we could call out and say that it's a little cheap. But overall, with the giantness of the playset and everything, and of course, I'll need to do a video comparing Castle Grayskull and this, but I'd like to get the I'd like to get the Dread before I do that, because I want to compare them on equal grounds. If this has a big, giant added part, technically it's added, because it wasn't like, that was not like a thing, not necessarily, at least to my knowledge, this extra huge clipping part was not necessarily a thing for the original playset. This is new, and it creates the effect of it being so ridiculously big. But because it is a thing now, I would also like to get the Point Dread, put it on Castle Grayskull, and then compare the two and figure out what playset I actually think wins in terms of its overall creativity and awesomeness. And maybe I'll actually have somebody else on the channel as well to talk with me, one of the guys from Fandom Night, because I'd kind of like an outside opinion to kind of just get the idea of, like, you know, just aesthetically where people see this on first impressions. But I got that on there, and it's really cool. It's pretty solid, so let's keep moving. Okay, so the next thing I did was I put this in. The wood paneling goes over here, and then this rocky area goes over here. And once again, like the back, I just think that's so cool, the way that all the purple and everything goes in. There's a peg on this part that you push the bone throne down onto to hold it in place. And then it's there. It's a bone throne, and it's cool, and it's not going to move, and it's cool. I did notice there's a little bit of discoloration right here where my plastic is already a little, like, not necessarily damaged, but I feel like that's probably a weak point in the plastic. But it doesn't seem to be causing any kind of problems. Once I push this in, it clipped in, and it's fine, and it doesn't seem to be giving me any kind of troubles or anything like that. As far as I'm aware, the next part is that this actually goes here. I think that's the reason that that's there, is to hold that in place. So I didn't want to necessarily do that one-handed, but it was easy enough to do one-handed. So there's that. It's got this kind of like thing, and it clips in here, and then these two little sides go in to kind of hold it into place. Everything clips around it, and then you can just go ahead and move this guy however you want him to be. And he's really more for an outside part of the decoration. He doesn't necessarily affect the atmosphere inside of here, because like this doesn't like go down and crush somebody or something like that. And I honestly think that if you have a person in here, I don't think they necessarily we'll have to test that. We'll test how tight it is in terms of like a character being inside of this thing when we get the chance. But so far, this isn't bad at all. This is it seems like there's some pretty good space. This having the absolute most space over here as compared to here, but we haven't built the outside yet. The only thing we're kind of working on is the inside. So let's finish up on the inside. Okay, and so lastly, I put the snake on, and I am going to call out something that seems to have been missed from the prototype, which I'm not exactly thrilled about, but I don't know that I'm mad either. And I also put the spider here because I thought it was a good idea. There's little areas, like little pegs, like there's even one right here where the spider could technically go there as well, because he's got a hole in him so you can choose where you want him. But I figured it'd be cool to have him here, so like if somebody did reach the top and get through the top gate, they not only have like this giant cat-sized spider, like a small dog-sized spider that's going to jump down on top of them, but then while they're contending with the spider, the floor falls out and they can fall directly into some acid or something like that. And if they're strong enough to actually survive the acid, we got these little creature things that we could put in the acid. So there's these things. There's this right here. These are decorations specifically for this bottom area. We got rocks. We got a little acidy monster guy, which they could have been painted better. They're really just solid things, but that's okay. And this thing that can like come up and grab you and drag you under. It's like a snake thing that lives in the acid down here, and it's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do personally on mine is I think I'm going to put the rock right there. I think I'm going to put this thing here, kind of like it's a little thing that kind of lives over here next to the rock or whatever. And then over in this part, we got this ugly dragon head thing that the farther you get in, like once it sees you, it's going to come at you, but it's got to swim towards you, so it's kind of like a serpent thing. And then that'd be really cool if they actually finished the rest of this creature design, gave us a serpent thing to fight with. And then, of course, there is a ladder, and it seems like it's got two holes right there for it, and then it goes up into this so that somebody could technically climb up there. If they're in the acid area, they have a way out or whatever, or a way into the acid if that's a thing. Because you could also come in from down here, and in Masters of the Universe, there's plenty of characters that could utilize magic or something like that to survive the acid effect in general, or you could just call this a swamp area if you really wanted to. There's some imperfections in mine, but it's not enough to bother me. Like I could see like some of the paint is chipped off and whatnot, but it's nothing that makes me worried because this is kind of a dirty, nasty place. And so the imperfections, I, on a personal level, feel like it just adds to it overall. I really like that bone throne. I can't get over it. Wish it was better painted, but at the same time, I am also one of those people that kind of sees this as this is a retro toy. Or at least it's designed to be kind of like a retro toy. And in that concept, that feels retro. It feels like unfinished, like they did enough, but they didn't go overboard because it's a toy, and this is really a lot of how toys were back then. In fact, looking at this area, this reminds me of like a Mighty Max area, where like little Mighty Max or whatever, because that's what that reminds me of very much. And this is also a clamshell, the entirety of the thing, so that kind of plays into a Mighty Max thing as well. So then this big cage thing here, I could put that in. I can just slide it in. Two hands makes it a lot easier to do, but it does slide pretty easily. It's really not, it's not as difficult as I'm making it. Here, let me set the camera up this way so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about. There it is. And then you just, if you have it lined up, you just push it in. Two hands makes that very simple. And there it is. It's just there. And it's pretty cool. I like this cage probably over here more than I do up here, because I like this play area to just opens it up a little more. And this is a little more crammed up and everything. And then of course we have a weapons rack, which when we actually have it open, we're actually playing with it or whatever. I don't know when that'll ever be. I might use this for some photography stuff, but who knows. And then of course the weapons and whatnot. And we'll be able to close it. If the weapons rack is like right there, I imagine that that's still fine, that once you fold this up, this is still closable, because it is a clamshell thing and you do have the ability to close it up, which is part of it. Let's go ahead now that we've got that. I wanna go around to the other side and check out the mountain itself. Because the inside, I think we're done. Aside from one more test, which is to see how characters look inside of this thing. Like how cramped is it? Ah, there's Dumbface. Look at him. Ah! This tells you almost immediately what I'm talking about with the playset areas. These old toys, they were built in a way where, like, size was not something they did as good as they could. And this is actually bigger than the original Snake Mountain, which I guess is good because these guys are actually a little bit bigger as well, but it still harbors the exact same problem that we had all those years ago, is that these figures, once you get them inside here, this is very much why it was a kid's type of toy, is we didn't care as much that his head was literally able to stick up over the castle entrance. We just didn't care. Let's put this guy in the throne, shall we? So I kind of got him in there, but as you can see, the actual bone throne itself isn't necessarily big enough. It's almost, and I've heard this lately from a couple of things, I heard that Point Dread is also a problem. It's like too small and cramped for the actual characters to be able to use, and that's a very common issue. This doesn't necessarily look bad. I think that if I toyed around with it for a little while and really worked with him, I could get him in there and get it looking really cool. And I might, very well. This might become an actual somewhat display piece that I use every now and then, so it'd be in my best interest. But that's what characters look like on the inside of it. Let's build the outside. So here it is. And on a personal note, let's get back here real quick and let's kind of show off the entirety of it. There it is, man. Look at that. That is Snake Mountain. That's the entire thing. It's pretty big, man. Like, wow, that's cool. That extra added peak right there really just sells it. The outside of it is like the selling point to me. The inside of it being cooler than it was before is cool, but like, I really think the outside of it is where the quote money is. That is pretty cool up there. I just still don't necessarily, I just find it to be goofy compared to the rest of it. Maybe other people disagree with me or whatever, but like, is it supposed to be just a statue pillar thing? Is it supposed to be alive? I have no idea, you know what I mean? These are a rubber-esque material now, which is good. It means that you can trap your guys up there, whomever is trapped up there, and they won't like break. I've heard the old ones break real easy and of course are now super frail. We got that monster face, which that paint is pretty good. It's got pretty good highlight to begin with, aside from before the light even catches it in general. And like I said, there's all kinds of little details here, like all these vines and everything like that. And of course, it's just really cool. Like there's a bunch of nasty vines and whatnot. And then of course, as we go over here, there's like a mouth thing, and like that looks like it's gripping some sort of heart. It might just be gripping like rocks or anything, but then there's like a gorilla face thing that's over here that's kind of nasty, and then that's the secret entrance down here by these vines. Then once again, there's some more vines that are growing into the rocks, and we got like a staircase thing that's happening here, which I don't think is actually wide enough for people to necessarily hang out on, if you want the truth of it. It's just not like a thing, but the look of it is fantastic. And of course, we got things like we could put him here, and then look at that snake, man. That is really cool. That snake is fantastic. That really sells the whole thing. It's just so unbelievably cool. Pretty decent detail over here and going up into this bat thing that we got going on here on the peak, which is pretty solid. And so let me put the bridge on because it's really the only thing for the outside that's going to close it all up. All right, so the bridge is on. Now, once the bridge is on, it pushes this area because there are connectors right in here and back here. And then these are very easy. You just clip them on and they stay, and they're pretty good. And there's little pegs all over this thing for you to actually put people and have them easier stand. So there's like a peg here and whatnot, and there's no peg here, which you would imagine would be nice for you to put your people on. I don't see one necessarily down here. There's one here. There's on the bridge. There's pegs and whatnot. So you can create standing points and display points for all of this. And then, of course, the bridge, as you can see, is incredibly narrow. There's a Skeletor on the bridge, and he's only walking across this thing if he shimmies. In all honesty, it's just the way that it's designed. And it's not a deal breaker, but it breaks the illusion a little bit. It makes you wish that these characters were almost G.I. Joe size, because honestly, I think old G.I. Joe size, they would almost fit this playset better. And I guess it is what it is. Like I said, I've made this argument a couple of times, but regardless of anything that I could call out and complain about, this is really cool. So that is Snake Mountain. I covered the inside, I covered the outside, I talked about some of the stuff that I like, some of the stuff that I didn't like, and gave my overall first impressions. And to close it out, this is magnificent. I would like to call out that the snake originally had 2 points on it. In the original demo thing that we saw back when they first revealed this, the prototype had the snake so it could sit here, or it could be moved to a point over here and clipped in, and then it would change the location and how the snake worked. I don't think it's a deal breaker. This moves this way, and it has some give and whatnot. And like I said, it's got the snake, and the head moves around and whatnot. So if you really mess with this, you can get it exactly where you want it. One thing that I wish we would have got, which would have been really cool, and I'm sure you could simulate this if you wanted, we should have got something behind the bridge, like right here, like a type of waterfall, a lava fall or something like that. Even if it was, say, a cloth or something that was like a soft goods that was painted in a way that kind of looked like flowing, lava or whatever, that would have been cool, because you could have wrapped it here, let it roll down here, and then let it roll down into the play field, and it could have been a cloth that you could have adjusted and whatnot and pulled out and messed with until you got it just right. Would that be too cheap? Maybe that wouldn't work. Maybe it would need to be a plastic piece, but I think if the effect was solid enough on the material, and you had like a little, even if it was just like a little clip, like one of those little pinchy tie things, like a pinch tie thing here that looked like a rock and a pinch tie thing here that looked like a rock, would hold it and it would go down and it would kind of pull the distance. And I think it could be done with just a piece of cloth that was done right to look like flowing, like lava fall or something like that. And it would have really helped this part of the effect right here, where you can basically tell that it's an open thing. It's a clamshell, but it's a toy, and I've already argued this multiple times. It's designed specifically to look like a classic toy. Now with the bridge on, it is held open in this way. But it's held open at an angle, and I don't know 100% how that's going to go for storing it. But you can clamshell it. You could pull the bridge off. It's pretty easy to pull the bridge off. There's just two little clip things that push in. You could pull the bridge off and you could clamshell it to save yourself some space, and then you've just got to figure out what way do you like to display it. This way with the snake or the other way with the face. On a personal note, because it's Snake Mountain, and I do like the Funimation series, and I do like the 2000X series, and I do like Revelation, Snake Mountain to me is way more about this side of the playset than it is about that side of the playset. So if I was to clamshell this to save space and put it somewhere, I would close it and display this side. On a personal note, I don't know 100% what I'm going to do with this. It is big, like really big. And as it is really big, especially if it's forced to be open like this, it's bigger than Castle Grayskull in terms of display. It's taller than Castle Grayskull without a doubt because of that. So I don't know. I did clear the entire bottom shelf for stuff like this. Not this bottom shelf, but the bottom shelf. And Castle Grayskull fits just right. But I think that means that this won't fit just right because the mountain peak will be too high. Which means I might be forced to put this into my cubbyhole area where I store some of my boxes, like I store some of my artwork boxes and whatnot. Like I keep my 2 Castle Grayskull boxes in there. Now I'm going to be keeping my Snake Mountain art box in there. And I've also got some stuff in that cubbyhole that's like accessories and whatnot. That's where I put my little accessory trays and whatnot for all the different weapons and things that I've collected over time that I need a place to put. I don't know. I'll figure it out over the next couple days. I'm in no rush necessarily to get this off the table. I have plenty of toy reviews and whatnot that are coming up, and I think this will fit where I was just talking about, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. And if worse comes to worse, if I absolutely have to, this will go down into my Grayskull Green garage. Either way, this is really cool to finally own. A Snake Mountain is really cool to finally own. And I'm going to tell you something. On a personal level, this Snake Mountain puts the original Snake Mountain to shame. I'm talking no contest. On a personal level, I know people out there are like, hey, the microphone was like a big part of my childhood. They should have had the microphone. You can do those voice effects on your phone now. I mean, if you really wanted it, and your phone will go in there. On a personal note, I don't think it matters. It's not something, and if you know me, I've already done videos on here talking about action effects versus action features. I personally like action effects more than I like action features. 1000%. I think action effects age over time better. They work better for the kinds of action figure photography and stuff that I enjoy. It's just, for me, it's all round better for action effects as opposed to action features. Action features, I think, limit articulation and limit design factors. That's on a personal note. Maybe it's not the way you feel, but it is the way that I feel 100%. Overall, this is fantastic. I have added Snake Mountain to the shelf. And it is fantastic. Well, this has been a long video, but we covered everything that I could think of to cover. If there's anything else I need to talk about, and if we do that comparison video after I get Point Dread, we'll do that. But for right now, I'm gonna get out of here. Yes! Snake Mountain is finally mine! No more having to sleep over at Castle Grayskull with mustache and arms!
have spoken. Take what you will from it.